One earthquake weakens a building, the next one destroys it. We know now that the high school was already fenced off. Since the 2019 earthquake, the plan was to demolish it, and in 2026 the earthquake finished the job. Keep that thought in mind as we look at life after this earthquake in 2026. And besides that, we look at the overall safety now after the earthquake. The church in town is luckily still standing. But look at this. Why is this building not fenced off? We see hanging columns. Maybe a next shock is not even necessary. This one is really interesting. First, look at this hanging column. Parts can suddenly fall down. Also, these connections are completely broken. But they are working right next to it. Here. Look again. Here the same. Is this an inspection by the police? An aftershock can still happen. Things can still fall down, not protected by any helmet or walking under scaffolding. Look at this. This is what happened before. Finally, some fences here. But if I look at the debris, the fences don't protect the people. People trying to pick up their lives again and repair what they can do themselves. The collapsed buildings are points of interest, I understand. Luckily here, people keep their distance. In between, we see poor building quality. Columns collapsed directly through the floor slab. Look here. Here, finally someone watching over the people and keeping them away. We can see the cracks here and here as well. The building is slanted and highly dangerous, especially for any aftershock. The university behind fences. No reuse will be possible here. Just demolish and rebuild to a higher earthquake resistant standard. Next. Here the McDonald's, with a small area in front of the door cordoned off with yellow tape. We see debris with floor parts, especially at this column. But the road is still open. Why? Has an inspection already happened? Is no collapse possible anymore? These are just my questions when I see this. And here, another building, completely ready to be demolished. Hopefully they have the capacity to do it quickly. Here, a building under construction. Surprisingly, it did not make it either. I expected the newer regulations to make these buildings more earthquake resistant. But apparently not. Open roads where any new shock could send rocks coming down. Hopefully they are only letting through people who absolutely need to be there. Here we see how it should be done. Take at least 50 meters and protect that area with a fence. If you want to see my previous video on the weak spots of buildings during the earthquake, keep watching. Let's take a quick overall look at the earthquake in Mindanao, Philippines, where several buildings collapsed. Later, we can analyze specific structures in more detail. For now, let's focus on what happened overall. This was a short earthquake. The buildings were hit by strong horizontal shaking, and the structure had to resist those forces. The key question is whether the building had enough strength to take that kind of movement. The first building looks very similar to the collapse in Angeles City last week. The columns fail on one side of the building and the whole structure starts to fall over. It was simply not designed to handle significant horizontal movement. The next building shows the same problem again, a very open layout with no core walls or structural walls to give the building much horizontal strength. The next structure we can see cracks appearing. The building has thin columns in the cantilevered area, while the walls seem to be doing most of the work, so no collapse is visible here. Luckily, this earthquake was short. If it had lasted longer, the damage could have been even worse, of course. Here we can see before and after footage. Because the buildings are really heavy and open, again with very little horizontal strength. During earthquakes like this, the stress between columns and beams can become extremely high, as we see here. You also get large shear forces in the middle of the columns. The ground moves one way, the floor moves another, and that creates the kind of shear failure we see in the middle of the columns. Where lower quality buildings collapse almost immediately, one of the taller buildings in Mindanao actually did a very good job of surviving the shaking. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.